So, Deltarune Chapter 2 just launched, and with it came waves of new theories and interpretations. Naturally, I'm just as excited, especially with how the chapter left off. But before I get into the nitty-gritty, here's your obligatory spoiler warning. As I will be talking about the end of Chapter 2, I highly recommend you play it before watching. You can find a link in the description, or just go to Deltarune.com. With that out of the way, let's get started! At the end of Chapter 2, Kris opens up a dark fountain, and we end on an ominous, smiling TV. I've seen a lot of people assume this makes Kris the Knight, that they are actually evil in all manner of guesses. While I can see why people have gotten this impression, I personally don't believe this is the case. For one, why would Toby blow such a massive twist in only the second chapter out of 7? But even putting that aside, I found plenty of evidence to prove my case. So, in this video, I hope to look at this ending with a critical lens and provide an alternative reasoning for Kris's actions. Now, in the chapter's final minutes, Toriel invites Susie inside. Before long, she's instructing her on how to bake a pie, while Kris heads into the bathroom to wash their hands. At that moment, we lose control of them, just like at the end of Chapter 1. They shove the red soul under the sink and tumble out the window, and at first it's unclear why. During this time, Toriel and Susie make small talk, until Toriel realizes she's out of sugar and heads out to her car. Conveniently, this is the exact moment Kris returns, and by the time Toriel rejoins the two teens, she's suddenly very alarmed. She even forgets the pie until Susie reminds her, then postpones their baking project. When Susie plans to walk home, Toriel insists she stay the night. Seems innocent enough, but remember this for later. While Kris and Susie hang out, Susie talks about how great it'd be if their Dark World friends could meet their Light World companions, and they could all spend time together. I believe this resonated with Kris, who despite Ralsei's warnings, has come to value their Dark World adventures, and Susie especially, even with our puppeteering. After all, the Susie T heals a whopping 120 HP, while Noelle's only heals 70 and Ralsei's heals a mere 60. They defend Susie against Spade King without the player's inputs, and when King threatens Lancer's life, they get on their knees along with their friends. Once Lancer is safe, they draw their own sword to challenge the tyrant. These are all automated actions on Kris's part, and they show a heroic side regardless of player intent. And while we select their choices, they control how those choices are conveyed. For instance, toasting the Queen prompts them to deliver an emotional speech. This suggests they care about Queen, or at least enjoyed their time as Tracy's. And during the Spamton Neo fight, they speak about their friends, as evident by Spamton's reaction here. Even as our puppet, Kris still cares and still wants to do the right thing. They are a lonely kid and miss their brother dearly. Until they befriended Susie and reconnected with Noelle, they didn't even have many friends. People around town found them creepy and eccentric, and approached them with pity, making them an outcast among their class. Yet through their adventures, they found new purpose, even if we nudge them down that path. But wait, you say, why would they slash Toriel's tires? Simple, to keep Susie with them so they don't have to be alone. After all, Alphys mentions there's no school next day, which means no excuse to visit Castletown. But if Susie stays the night, and if a Dark World just happened to open up in their home, well, there's an excuse for adventure right there. And as for their mom calling the cops, I suspect this was a deliberate move too. After all, Undyne brushes off their concerns about more Dark Worlds opening. This could be the opportunity to prove it's a big deal, and since their dad was the former police chief, it's entirely possible that word could reach him as well. They did leave the door to the house open, so it's clear they want more people to come inside. Or perhaps they want to create a Dark World that reaches beyond their home. Some have speculated that Kris sees the Dark World as an opportunity to mend their broken family, just like it made Susie a kinder person, bolstered Noelle's confidence, and got Birdley to show more humility. It's too early to say, but even setting aside the speculation, there are other points against Kris being the Knight. First, Noelle and Birdley were already studying after school. Their books were open. This means the fountain had to open after they began, but before Kris and Susie went inside. There's further evidence as well. Queen states that the fountain formed the same day, thus the window for its creation is just too slim. Never mind that if it had been formed the night before, surely the library staff would have noticed before Birdley and Noelle's arrival. It's a public room after all. So, how can that be? Remember that the computer room has another area to it, spacious enough to fit a large person. My theory is that the actual Knight hid in this room until Noelle and Birdley arrived, and then created the fountain. Birdley and Noelle were the bait, friends of the two Lightners who ruined their previous fountain. It's also possible that this person stayed hidden the entire time the Dark World adventure took place, leaving only after Kris and Susie had emptied the room. It would make sense, as King spoke as if the Knight was directly opposed to Kris. He even threatened to shatter their heart and did not recognize them as anything more than the leader of the band of Lightners who opposed him. Also, at the start of Chapter 1, Kris backs away from the closet. If they knew there was a Dark World there, and if they created it themselves, why would they do this? Sure, they could be faking it, but then why would they fight against King in the first place if he was on their side? Just because Kris opened the fountain in their home doesn't make them the culprit for the previous 3. After all, Queen said any Dark North with enough determination could create a dark fountain. And while it's true that Ralsei warned them about the roaring, that's only if too many fountains are open at once, and thus far, they have sealed 2 fountains, so is one more really gonna hurt? At the end of the day, I think Kris's motives are simple. Their life didn't get better until they went to the Dark World, befriended Susie, and later mended their relationship with Noelle and got on decent terms with Berdly. The Dark World has helped people's lives improve. Leaving the door open is basically an invitation for others to come join the fun. In closing, I believe Kris slashed the tires to get Susie to stay the night, and if Toriel called the cops, to get them to come over in time for the arrival of a new Dark World. Opening their house could lead to the darkness spreading further, thereby letting Ralsei and the others meet others in town. And maybe even Asgore would come by if he heard about the ruckus, being the former police chief. If Darkworld fixes problems, maybe it can fix Kris's family, and they can get another adventure in Susie and share the truth with their mother. It's reckless, and perhaps a bit selfish, but I genuinely think Kris means well in their own weird way. Of course, if you disagree, that's fine. Feel free to share your own thoughts and speculation in the comments below. I'd like to do more Deltarune content in the future, so stay tuned. And if you can, leave a like, as it really helps boost this video in the algorithm. While you're still here, I do have an Undertale webcomic called Inverted Fate, and I'll leave a link here in the end cards as well as in the description. I have a Patreon if you want to support what I do and get early access to cool content. Other than that, thank you for watching, and see you next time.